to start off with why we need women's health diagnostics. So we know that women are diagnosed later than men for over 700 diseases. With regard to gynecologic diagnostics, most are really painful and invasive and often require surgery. Specifically for things like endometriosis that has a diagnostic delay of upwards of 10 years. So in terms of gynecologic conditions, I've committed my entire career to making a positive impact on gynecologic health. The areas that I'm really interested in are these underdiagnosed areas of gynecologic health, including endometriosis, adenomyosis, and endometrial cancer. More recently, I've been focused and laser focused on endometrial cancer to make a huge difference. We know that closing the women's health gap is also a huge economic opportunity. So we can decrease pain and invasiveness, but also improving the lives and economies of women are a $1 trillion opportunity. So our contribution to closing that women's health gap is a non-invasive diagnostic for endometrial cancer. And we are leveraging the past 15 years in my lab, pioneering cervical vaginal lavages and understanding the local microenvironment. And so now we've seen there's an opportunity to utilize biomarkers within those cervical vaginal secretions as sensitive predictors for gynecologic cancer and disease. And so I'm a professor at U of A College of Medicine, Phoenix. I'm in basic medical sciences and cross-appointed in obstetrics and gynecology. And I direct a translational women's health research program that partners clinicians with bioinformaticians and basic scientists to tackle these difficult questions in women's health. So we're well positioned within our team in terms of our basic science, as well as our clinical team members in GYN oncology, as well as our consultants to move this product forward into the market. So going back to the problem, so endometrial cancer is the most common gynecologic cancer in the US. It's fourth most common in cancer in women worldwide. And unlike other cancers that are actually going down, endometrial cancer rates continue to rise, especially in younger women and minority women. And it just overcame ovarian cancer as being more deadly. So I love to mention that because a lot of people don't know that. And we estimate a 50% increase in cases by the year 2040. So current testing and diagnosis is invasive and painful. It requires a on-site clinical visit, access to a testing facility, and a need for a physician, mostly a highly trained physician, to collect these endometrial biopsies. Our solution is a non-invasive cervical vaginal sample that will provide early detection of disease. It could be moved towards point of care and home testing, and this allows for a discussion with clinicians to inform next steps. So our proposed point-of-care testing is non-invasive and painless, accurate and informative. It limits time to diagnosis and allows for clinical management of uterine health issues. So I mention that broadly because we have a platform technology that we can advance for other gynecologic conditions in the future. We participated in an I-Corps program doing a lot of customer discovery, and we found this is culturally appropriate. It's also accessible to all ages and stages of women across the female lifespan, and it would be available in rural areas, which is a huge barrier to care right now. In terms of the endometrial cancer market, the diagnostic market alone is upwards of $3.7 billion. The endometrial cancer rates are mostly growing within developed countries, North America being the top market, followed by Latin America and Europe. So what do we have right now? So basically, in terms of current standard of care, women will present with abnormal uterine bleeding. That'll be 90% of women come in. They get an endometrial biopsy, which is not done under any anesthesia. It requires a dilation of the cervix, similar to childbirth, to access the upper reproductive tract, rotor-rooter around, collect a tissue sample, and that's what then is used for diagnosis. Only 10% of the women that receive these endometrial biopsies will receive a definitive endometrial cancer diagnosis. So our technology would reduce the pain and suffering of these women and this unnecessary burden of care. To further contextualize it, 1 in 4 women in the US will experience abnormal uterine bleeding during their lifetime. Abnormal uterine bleeding accounts for 1 out of every 3 gynecologic visits. So there's a huge unmet need for stratifying these patients. So our solution is EndoGuard. It's really like a prostate screen or Cologuard, for example, for colorectal cancer. And basically, our solution would come in at, $100 to $500, similar to PSA or Cologuard, which would be a significant reduction in terms of costs of a transvaginal ultrasound and endometrial biopsy. So this would be low cost. It would minimize that invasiveness, and then we could prioritize women that fall into that high-risk category for that more invasive endometrial biopsy. This could be implemented, hopefully, into an annual screen or biannual screen. It would increase comfort, acceptability, and access, and this would reduce healthcare costs as well as burden. So in terms of the competitive landscape, this is an area of interest from others. Our sample collection and methodology differentiates us from others. In addition, we are detecting proteins. We also have other patents for metabolites. But most of our competitors are looking at DNA, and they're looking at risk. And we are able to allow for our patented molecular proteomic signature to detect active and early stage endometrial cancer. And we've also looked at precancer, so hyperplasia as well. In addition, we are coming in with an intended use for screening all comers, ultimately, as a ultimate goal. Our technology is minimally invasive. Again, it allows for active endometrial cancer detection. We could move towards home sampling, and that pricing compared to the gold standard at the end and gold, it's much lower. So we feel we are well positioned and differentiated to uniquely meet women's health needs. In terms of the science, transvaginal ultrasound has a really low sensitivity and specificity. And if you focus in on Black women, there's even a lower sensitivity and specificity. So our EndoGuard outperforms this current first-line screening of a transvaginal ultrasound with a high sensitivity and specificity and predictive accuracy. We're well positioned to perform our multi-site clinical validation studies. So we work here at U of A College of Medicine Phoenix with Banner, as well as Ohio State University and UCLA. And it's really important to me that we are performing these multi-site studies across the nation so that we're diversifying our racial ethnic profiles. So we're developing diagnostics that are sensitive and predictive for all women. So in terms of our timeline and path to commercialization, to date, I've raised upwards of over $1 million in funding from NCI, at NIH, as well as private foundations like the Women Investing in Science and Health, Flynn Foundation, and Mary Kay Foundation. So I'm really grateful to them. And as I mentioned, we did also we're a part of the I-Corps program and other entrepreneurial training. So during this year, we're building out our leadership team. We're currently recruiting a CEO. We're performing a validation study with those different sites, so OSU, UCLA, and Phoenix right now, and we're pursuing additional grants of non-dilutive funding. Moving forward, we're positioned to launch the startup and operations, customize a biomarker assay next year, develop a CLIA certified assay, as well as a product strategy and regulatory plan, a clinical validation study, and reimbursement strategy. And then moving forward beyond, we would be submitting an FDA approval for a PMA, performing product testing, evaluation of longitudinal sampling and monitoring, testing new indications, as I mentioned earlier, and then hopefully a successful exit. So, in summary, we have a superior method for early detection for endometrial cancer. We're addressing the fourth most common cancer in women with a $12 billion economic opportunity. A recurring revenue model, once adopted as a part of the annual Well Woman exam. We have this highly qualified and motivated team to execute on this solution. So, we're hoping that you will support our journey. We're actively recruiting a CEO. We need a $2 million investment prior to FDA approval. And we need your help in making early detection a reality and funding the future of women's health.